You know, I know your opponent very well. She's been up to my office looking for campaign contributions over the years. And she's very aggressive on contributions, but she's not very aggressive on getting things done.
That was President Trump going after New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's record in what the senator is now calling a, quote, sexist attack. Watch.
Did you hear some of his criticisms, like his hit at you for asking for campaign contributions, as gendered?
Yes, that was clearly a sexist smear, and it was intended specifically to silence me.
Gillibrand's Republican opponent, Shel Farley, is now firing back in a statement writing, quote, crying sexism because President Trump assailed her failed record as a senator is an insult to women who have endured real abuse. The fact is that it took almost 12 years for Gillibrand to pass one bill, she says. The renaming of a post office, that is her record. Here now to sort it all out with us tonight, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com. Ben, good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. She's running against a woman who has now called her out on using the president's comments as gender-based.
Everything is sexist. Everything in the world is sexist.
Everything is sexist.
Honestly, I'm looking for some sort of limiting principle to when the left will cry sexism, because legitimately, apparently, maybe it's something in the water in New York. I mean, if you ask somebody for a debate or a discussion, it's sexist. If you criticize the record, it's sexist. No matter what you do, apparently, it's sexist. And this doesn't have any sort of purchase with the public anymore. It's just boring. If you don't like the criticism, then fight back against the criticism. Explain why it's wrong. Explain why the criticism is ignorant. But to claim that someone criticized your record and therefore it's because you're a woman is just so off-putting and really, I think, alienating for a broad majority of the American public, even though Gillibrand will, of course, be fine in the state of New York.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, for a lot of women, it's a cop-out. I think most women want to be judged on the merits of their argument, their legislative record, or whatever it is that is the record of their work. And I think that's what Shel Farley is pointing to here. You know, it's very interesting to me whether or not this will work for Democrats, because we all remember the war on women working one time around in the presidential election cycle. But they're hammering and hammering and hammering this point home over and over again, which leads me to think that they do believe that it will work again.
Yeah, I also think there's a difference between somebody declaring a war on women who isn't a woman, like Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton suggesting that every attack on her is therefore an attack on all women. It's a lot more self-serving coming from a politician who is relying on charges of sexism in order to ingratiate herself or to avoid the ramifications of her own record than for somebody else to declare that there's some sort of broad war on women happening politically. I think that the 2012 campaign is very different from 2016 or 2018.
Yeah, you know, there's an interesting big picture element to this that goes to the Me Too movement as well. And one of the things that Gillibrand has fought hard for is to basically eliminate due process on college campuses for men who are accused of sexual assault. And Shel Farley is also going after her on this front, claiming that, you know, all of these cases need to be looked at individually. Now, look at Asia Argento, the woman who was front and center accusing Harvey Weinstein. And I don't think that any of this takes away anything from her accusation in that regard. However, it now appears that she paid off a young man who was 17 years old at the time. She was 37, $380,000 in a complaint against her that she sexually assaulted him, Ben. And I know that you guys have written about this on Daily Wire today. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, my main takeaway is not even Asia Argento participating in this sort of behavior and there being a double standard with regard to herself, but the left's willingness to sort of take a step back. So, for example, Rose McGowan, who was another victim of Harvey Weinstein, allegedly, right? She comes forward and she says, well, you know, we should wait for all the facts to come out. We should be gentle with regard to this Asia Argento case. Well, there's pretty good evidence that Asia Argento thought she did something wrong, considering that she gave $380,000 to a 17-year-old boy to make him go away, basically. So it's amazing how the standard only works in one direction. When it's a female who's victimized, then it's believe all women. When it's a male who's allegedly victimized, then it's, well, let's take this gently. You know, we have to be very careful about this. It seems that it's more about political connection in many cases and political alliances than it is about the actual merits of the individual case. And that doesn't speak well of some of the figures in the Me Too movement, which, again, I think that the movement is vital. I think that people who are sexually abused and assaulted should be coming forward. They should be going to the cops. They should be going public. But if we're going to hold one standard for one group of people and one standard for another group of people, it does raise some questions about the motivations.
Yeah, and it casts a shadow of doubt on the entire idea of believing everyone in any particular class who is making these accusations, because the fact of the matter is, and my guess, Asia Argento went through something. She probably felt that she was falsely accused in this story. I don't know. She's going to speak out about it, I hope, at some point.